I'm Lou Bank.
I'm Arik Torren.
There you go. And this is not Agave Road Trip, but this is Drink Agave with us. Chava is missing. We think he's been absconded, like thieves have run off with Chava. We don't know where he is. But instead, Arik is filling in for him because we thought it'd be better to have two bald old white guys with graying beards than to have a balanced presentation. Is that about right?
Spot on.
Okay, so what we're doing here for the next 90 minutes is we're going to be tasting through 7 spirits, all of them from the amazing Fidencio Spirits catalog, that being the catalog that was put together by our friend Arik here. And we're going to taste these spirits through. We've got guests who are going to come on, who represent the brands, who are going to talk through them with us. And I want you guys, if you've got questions, here's the deal. If you've just got comments, throw it into chat, right? Like if it's not super important and you want to say something that we don't have to respond to, throw it into chat. If you've got a question, throw it into the actual Q&A, and I'll be able to see that and pay attention to that. If, on the other hand, you're watching this via Facebook, via the Agave Road Trip page on Facebook, if you put a comment on there, we're not going to see it till it's over because, hey, we can't walk and chew gum at the same time. Accurate, Arik?
Accurate.
Excellent. I'm going to ask everybody, if you enjoy this, share it with friends. If you don't enjoy it, share it with your enemies. Follow Agave Road Trip on Instagram and Facebook, and follow Fidencio Spirits. And I think we should just get started now.
All right.
Okay, so first thing you want to do is pour everything that you can. If you've got enough copitas or glasses, whatever you're drinking out of, it doesn't matter. Whatever you like drinking out of, that's what you should drink out of. So line them all up and start pouring them so that your whole room smells like these beautiful spirits. And the first thing that we're going to be drinking is the Mi Casa tequila. And then from Mi Casa, we're going to go to the San Bartolo Mezcal. After San Bartolo, I forget. Can you help me with that, Arik?
Wait, before we continue, I just need to mention that we had a shipping issue into some markets. So some people only have kits without San Bartolo. And I apologize for that. And we'll be able to get you those tasters because they are caught in transit. So we'll be able to follow up with that. But some people only have 6, and I apologize for that.
In fact, so everybody attending this evening, at least if you registered on the page, you're attending, you've got my email address. So if you email me, I will email you back Arik's phone number, and then you can call him to find out where your San Bartolo is.
Yes, please do.
Excellent. Perfect. Okay. So then it's San Bartolo, and then what's the next one?
Fidencio Tepextate, I believe, was lined up next.
Yes, it is.
Oh. Yes. And then
no, it's the Tabernas. No, it's the Derrumbes. It's the Derrumbes Zacatecas.
Derrumbes Zacatecas, Fidencio Tepextate, Rancho Tepúa after that.
Yep.
And then we'll have a double up with Esteban with La Venenosa and La Higuera.
That's funny. I am now going to pull up my notes since I realize I'm never going to remember all of this stuff. Okay, so I think we just get started, which means I need to pull up. Oh, wow, with 102 people, that's going to be fun. Who am I pulling up? Who's our first guest?
Eli Rodriguez at Mi Casa Tequila.
Eli, and promote to panelists. Let's see the magic happen. Dun, 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 dun. Hey, Eli, how you doing?
I'm good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. So, first up,
Eli?
Are you nervous being the first one up?
No, I don't get nervous.
Okay, so tell us about this tequila.
Okay, well, who's my audience? Who's drinking?
I can't drink.
We have people from all around the country logged in to this webinar, so there's lots of folks with kits in front of them. They all have Mi Casa Blanco U.S. inventory. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so the Blanco you're drinking is grown from agave that we've been growing on our ranch in Michoacan. We've been growing agave in Michoacan since 2000, and we came to the market with this product in 2011. I believe what you guys are drinking is Lot 2, which was most likely Lot 2, which was distilled in or bottled in 2012. And so the really cool thing about this is that the land, we started growing the agave. So it's my parents and my sister and I. And that land had not been used for growing agave. So it's virgin land. The soil is very iron rich. So we have this really nice red soil. And the agaves that we harvested for this lot average between 32 to 34 bricks. So it's natural sugar contents. So you get something that's leans on the sweeter side naturally. And as far as distillation goes, nothing too fancy here. It's stainless steel steam ovens for about 17 hours. It uses a proprietary champagne yeast out in the distillation gets done at Casa de Tequila de which is right there in tequila country. And we started working with them right away because of the manager at the time was really familial, and he was the kind of guy who would return your phone call and follow up with you. And so that was the beginning of our journey into tequila. The Blanco has actually gone on to win a number of awards, including the double gold medal at the San Francisco International Spirits Competition in 2014. And question?
Yeah. Big question. Okay, so you're growing the agave in Michoacan and then moving it over to Jalisco, to tequila country, to have the tequila, right? How common is it to have the agaves come out of Michoacan? I know that the territory, that there are communities where it's allowed, but how common is that?
So with us in particular, they had to redraw the boundary to include us into the map. So I don't know if it's very common at all.
Why would they do that? Do you have something on them? Do you have like some blackmail photos or something?
I think that the CRT was happy to see Mexicans owning their own brands of tequila and were willing to help us.
That's awesome. Beautiful. Yeah. Okay, sorry, I did mean to interrupt, clearly.
But, I talk really fast, and so probably it's good that you interrupt me whenever you feel necessary. Excellent.
So you've won a bunch of awards with this beautiful tequila. It's been sitting in glass since, what did you say, 2012?
Oh yeah, I mean it's been bottled for a long time now.
That's crazy. That's beautiful. So it's really it's 9-year-old tequila.
Yeah, well when we came to market, there was a number of factors. For one, we were just growing agave, and the whole 2008 financial crisis hit, and and we needed to get smarter about it, because all of a sudden that agave was not worth as much as we put into it. And so we got the ball rolling about, what are we going to do? Do we have what it takes to launch our own brand of tequila? And, and so it kind of just snowballed, and a lot of things went right for us. For example, the CRT, drawing the boundaries to include our ranch.
And which part of Michoacan is your ranch in?
So the closest town would probably be El Cucuno or Benjamil, which is nowhere on the map. I would say that if you were looking at the map, you're looking about a half inch from the center. But it's the Northern Highlands. We're about at 6,000 feet up.
Okay, yeah. Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah. I don't know where I was going with that.
Sorry, so they redrew the map in order to include you.
Yeah, so that you could... yeah.
So you were initially just growing the agave then with the thought that you were going to sell it to somebody else?
Oh, so that's the thing. So we were growing the agave, and we were selling it to other producers. And when we came to our first harvest, our first 2 harvests, we harvested 400 to 600 tons. which is about as much as Fortaleza harvest per year, and they have a large market share, right? And so we had 600 tons of agave that we harvested and that we distilled and that we bottled for ourselves, and nobody knew who we were. So like, we produced
Very
like we had
optimistic.
a global audience, but really we had to put in the groundwork and basically we covered as much ground as we could on our feet. So the Bay Area was, it's my stomping grounds, and my sister and I, back in 2011 through 2015, primarily did the whole door-to-door thing.
Wow, is that legal to sell booze door to door? That's awesome.
Oh yeah, if you got the right licenses.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
So you guys also do you barrel age some of your tequila, correct?
This is true. So on the market right now, we do have a reposado that's aged in Jack Daniel barrels for 10 months, and then our añejos been rested for 30 months, same Jack Daniel barrels. The stuff that we have aging right now is at the 9-year mark, and Arik and his wife Courtney synced up with myself in Mexico, and we went through 118 barrels of this 9-year, and we graded them all at different proofs. And we'll be
whoa! You can't just blow that out. You went through what? You tasted through what? 118 barrels?
118
Work.
barrels.
It was work.
Yeah, we were there for I believe 7 or 8 days.
Wow. Okay. Nice.
So with
Beautiful.
results, there is 2 different types of releases that are going to come from that: single barrel tequila and small batch tequila, all with their unique profile, all 9-year-old. So all of this is from 9-year-old barrels.
And so small batch means you've blended it from the multiple barrels. Okay.
Yeah.
And so how many barrels do you use in a batch?
So we made 6 batches, and I believe I don't have the notes in front of me now, but anywhere between 5, like 8 barrel
between
batches.
5 to 8 barrel batches.
Yeah.
And then there were 8, I think, barrels, or 6 or 8 barrels that were lights out, certified bangers we were talking about. And those are going to be released under a separate brand name, declassified, because they are going to be bottled without dilution. So barrel strength, single barrel.
And that's going to be
agave.
And that's going to be roughly what percentage of alcohol?
Ooh, they range from 55 to 72.
72?
59 is 71 point something. Yeah, between 58 and 72. They were, So
that's sweet.
They're incredible.
The highest proof one, the 72% one, there's probably only 10 to 12 bottles available for market. That's all that was left in the barrel.
And how does clearly Chava won't get one because he's not here. So how does somebody qualify? How do you even allocate that? That's crazy.
We haven't gotten there yet.
We haven't gotten there yet. I think
one of the rules has to be you attended this tasting, right?
Well, I think that there's a number of people that have been retailers that have been supporting the brand for over a decade, and of course,
that makes sense.
They would been supporting. I don't know. Arik has his mind wrapped around these things more than I do. I know I'm gonna have my bottles.
I know I got mine.
Okay,
we'll figure that out when the time comes. We still need to file the label on that, so we're a little bit a ways.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got less than a minute left. Is there anything else you want to share with us?
Ooh, I'm really grateful to be having these continued conversations of agave and being able to have this kind of enthusiasm for this agave and tequila culture in 2021. It's a year where a lot of people maybe had to abandon a lot of things that weren't essential for them, but I do think that, the 10 years that Arik and I have been diving through the world of agave, it's nice that minds are meeting and collaborating, and we're still growing. And that wouldn't happen without people like you and your audience. And so just thank you, and thanks for having me on.
Oh, they're not my audience. This all belongs to Arik and you guys.
No.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks. It's a pleasure meeting you. I really enjoyed drinking the Blanco, as I was supposed to be making the little samples. So that was fun. I only got like half the samples out of it, but I'm really looking forward to one of those very high proof bottles. That's good. Even if it's just a little taste, is all I'm saying, Arik.
Yeah, we can make that happen.
Okay.
It will, for sure.
Beautiful meeting you, Eli. I look forward to actually doing it in person when things are possible.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
See you,
Okay,
brother.
now, what happened? I think Daniel actually, like I
He was there.
promoted-
I just saw him.
Yeah, and but I think it was Daniel's wife or sister, maybe,
Mm.
and then disappeared. So maybe what we should do is move on to the next person. What is going on? This never happens. Chava's missing. Daniel's missing. I think Yvonne, I hope you're ready because I'm about to pull you up, buddy. We're going to go right on to Yvonne. Okay. Promote to panelist. And Yvonne is with Derumbes?
Yes, he is.
Yes, he is. Yvonne from
Yes,
Derumbes, welcome to the party. Welcome back to the party. How are you? No, you're muted.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much. Here is, well, my name is Ivan Robles from Mezcal Derrumbes, and I've been drinking
Oh, I think,
Zacatecas.
yeah, keep going until we can get Daniel to flatten out. We'll keep you
Okay.
there, Daniel. Work on your, unless you meant to be on the side. So it's really, actually, it's interesting that we pulled you up, that this happened, right? Because you've got a mezcal that's made from Blue Weber, and everybody just finished drinking a tequila made from Blue Weber.
Hmm?
Yeah, that's interesting, and that's the most interesting part of this mezcal of Zacatecas, since Zacatecas is just across the border with Jalisco, just across the valley of Tequila. Okay, so here with me it's Fortino Bañuelos, fourth generation of the Familia Bañuelos. Okay, which he's gonna say a few words with us. But yeah, it's quite interesting comparing it with tequila, since it's made of the same agave. You know, that's a question. If tequila it's a mezcal, or a mezcal could be a tequila, or not, that denomination of origin game and politics that we follow. So one important thing for the crowd that is hearing us is, right before the denomination of origin was arrived to Mexico, the tequila was sold as mezcal made in the town of Tequila. So we did this expression. The Rumbes has 6 expressions of mezcal, different regions, different agaves. And we made this expression just, it's really fun, but from Tequilana Weber, since it's quite the same environment as Jalisco, very close. There's a lot of Tequilana Weber. There's a lot of different agaves also, but the fun part is that Zacatecas mostly produces mezcal like tequila, steam cooked, and the Fortino family, it's one of very few families that still are making traditional mezcal. You know, roasted peat, atahona, spontaneous fermentation. So this mezcal is it's a great comparison with tequila, because they are like brothers, you know, so there's no better or worse. It's just simply which one needs another experience in your mouth, etc. So for the ones that are drinking Zacatecas, cheers. Hope you're
Salud.
Salud.
Ivan, I always say it's like drinking tequila 200 years ago. What would you say about that? What would Fortina say about that?
Okay, I will pass, I will help translate for Tino, and we'll go to that question. So, Fortino, preséntate. ¿Quién eres?
Mi nombre es Fortino Bañuelos. Yo nací en el estado de Zacatecas. Posteriormente me vine a estudiar aquí a Jalisco. Bueno, después nosotros regresamos a trabajar a la taberna de mi papá.
Okay, so Fortino was born in Zacatecas. His family was origin from Jalisco. He came to study, and he now is one of 4 generations that work in the mezcal distilling part. So he's continue, ¿no?
Bueno, nuestra familia tiene haciendo mezcal desde 1915. Nosotros comenzamos, más bien mi bisabuelo comienza a hacerlo en el municipio de Tequila, Jalisco, pero es en un cañón que está muy pegado al estado de Zacatecas.
So his great-grandfather started in 1900 making mezcal. In that, back then was called mezcal, and they did it in Jalisco, just really close to Zacatecas.
Okay. Posteriormente se comienza a hacer el mezcal porque se tenía mucho comercio en ese momento y mi abuelo le gustaba mucho hacerlo. Nosotros venimos de una gran familia y nos gusta tomar mucho la bebida destilada del mezcal. Entonces, en ese tiempo, por ese rumbo pasaba una ruta comercial y es como empiezan ellos a despuntar a hacer el mezcal.
So back then, his great-grandfather, the village where they lived, it was a commercial route. So they started, trading mezcal and everything, and they just started the business of mezcal, growing the plants, making a distillery.
Bueno, en ese tiempo que comienza a despuntar mucho las bebidas destiladas en la región, tanto en Jalisco como en Zacatecas. Esto hace que los recaudadores de impuestos pongan mucho hincapié en todas las tabernas destiladoras. Y esto hace también que mi abuelo tenía un rancho compartido en el estado de Jalisco y Zacatecas.
Okay. So this commercial line between Jalisco City and the outsides start calling the attention for the tax guys, trying to take some money out, some money from the tequila, and they start pressuring a lot on the Bañuelos family, and they push them to Zacatecas. And that's why now the Bañuelos family became from Jalisco to Zacatecas. And well, the story continues.
Okay. Entonces nosotros o la familia decide cambiarse a la parte de Zacatecas para protegerse por la carga de impuestos de Jalisco. Pero esto estamos hablando de 1920, 1930.
Okay, so the tax guys pushed them so hard that they moved to Zacatecas, but they took everything that they used in Jalisco. So as you said, Arik, right now we are drinking a mezcal almost the same way that they used to sell in 1900s. Some things have changed, but the families, they still are working the same. Family owned, trying to grow their own agave, making their distillations and making their own products. And Derrumbes captures this richness and throw them in a bottle. And I mean, it's a great expression that we can say that we are drinking a 1900 mezcal from Zacatecas that used to be made in Jalisco, that it's the same agave than tequila, but if this was 5 kilometers into Jalisco, it will be called tequila instead of mezcal. So,
and we've got a very specific, I forgot, I can change my background. We've got a very specific question about the kind of fermentation vessel that you use.
Okay. El tipo de fermentación. So,
la fermentación Es con levaduras, se les dice espontáneas, pero en realidad lo que he estado yo investigando es que la levadura está en el medio ambiente.
Okay, so the fermentation process for the Derrumbes, it's spontaneously. We don't add any yeast to it. Obviously, the yeast is always in the air and in the environment, but the vessels, which are wooden vessels, have these organisms already creating it. They're in the roof. It's an open ceiling fermentation. So this gives us a lot of different flavors in our mouth, which the difference between the tequila, which I mean, there are only different profiles, are a little bit more controlled. And you create a profile, and here in the Derrumbes, we let the batches go, and you'll have like certain DNA on the bottles on every batch. But yes, fermentation and open fermentation will give us maybe different notes in different batches.
Got it. Beautiful. And I think we are now at the point where we have to switch over to the next folks. Is there any last thing you want to add?
Okay, one thing that I would like to add before Tino's last words, it's that thank you very much for being so enthusiastic about these Mexican spirits. We are very glad, very happy to be part of these events. And well, we are a small brand that we really, really like people to these different batches and regions of mezcal. And thank you for thinking on us. Últimas palabras que te gustaría decir.
Pues muchas gracias por estarnos entrevistando y darnos la oportunidad de platicar de algo tan hermoso que es para nuestra familia, transformar el espíritu de un agave, meterlo en una botella y que ustedes lo estén degustando. Gracias.
Okay, so last translation is that thank you very much for everyone that is drinking this beautiful wine, this beautiful mezcal, that they transform this spirit from the agave and put this spirit in a bottle and to share with you and all the world. Thank you very much. And we're very to doing this for you guys.
Oh, thank you very much. Beautiful. And thank you both for joining us. And I'm going to just move you over now to be a part or to be a viewer while Chava introduces himself.
Oh, hey there. Can you listen to me, Ludo? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. So I'm very late. I am terribly sorry, but the whole Central Time, Eastern Time.
Stop. We already did that. Just
stop.
stop.
Okay. So anyways, that's my excuse. My name is Salvador. They call me Chava Perivan, hence the way that I'm named here. And I'm the co-host with Lou Bank of Agave Road Trip, the podcast that helps gringo bartenders better understand the
I'm taking over, Chava. I'm taking over.
And that's it. And I'm very happy to be here with you guys.
Beautiful. And so our next guest, wait, now I've gotten confused. So our next guest is Daniel. And Daniel, you are with San Bartolo, correct?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so San Bartolo, you've got
Daniel.
Well, one more time, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Lou. Thank you, Chava. Thank you, Arik, for creating such a beautiful space, and also at the same time for creating this beautiful event. One more time, my name is Daniel. I am one of the founders of San Bartolo Mezcal Artisanal. It's a project my grandpa and myself we started evolving more than 7 years ago. It was really hard at the beginning to release a brand as a family brand, and also at the same time, San Bartolo Mezcal is some mezcal that it comes from the Yautepec region, which.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna interrupt you. Like I've got a lot of questions.
Yeah,
so you're saying it was hard for you initially to own your own brand. What changed? What made it possible for you to own the brand?
Well, at the beginning, we had to build the whole project. I'm a Mexican immigrant. I've been in New York for the last 14 years. When I moved to New York, I wasn't able to speak any English at all. I didn't know anything about business. I didn't know anything about importation, license, permits, and everything. So it was a process for me to first to learn just to speak English. Let's start from that, and
Wow.
then just start like learning about laws, regulation, permits, licensing, partnerships, and also like start creating the branding, what it was born 5 years ago, a little by a little. And this church is an actually church from San Bartolo Yautepec. And yeah, it's in San Bartolo Yautepec. And I remember when I was a child and I used to go see my grandpa, and I used to see this church, this San Bartolo church. I was so amazed how beautiful, how fantastic, and all the art and culture that is around San Bartolo is such a magical place. And also the fact that this is the first time ever that the mezcal from San Bartolo Yautepec come outside of Mexico and it's been able to be sold. Is such a love of when people like from San Bartolo, they seen their mezcal being able to sell outside of Mexico. And also at the same time, it was hard because we had to go all the non-certification from the village, because even Comercan, which is a mezcal regulator, they didn't even know about the village. So it just took us like around almost 2 years just to get the certification for the village, because they wasn't even registered in the Comercan, in the mezcal regulator. So it was really hard. Back in the time, it used to be just one phone on the village. So every time when I used to call my grandpa, everybody like they have like this just one phone with a speaker. So they just be like, Valentin Martinez, please come down in 10 minutes because your grandson is calling you. And then they had to call again. And there were times that it was like a heavy rain. It was really windy. Like we couldn't even communicate with the village because there wasn't electricity, because it was like a storm with heavy rain. So there were like months that I couldn't communicate with my grandpa. So it was really hard to develop the project like together, and also at the same time, being able to get all the permits and licensing like under our name. I feel like it was one of the hardest things. And also at the same time, developing a business plan, our strategies, advertising, marketing, and also at the same time, keep working in New York, you know, as a busboy, runner, bartender, everything that I can to still like raising the money to send it. We've been in New York now selling for almost a year. It's gonna be in April, our first year. People from New York, thank you very much. You've been so supporting us. I love you. And also at the same time, like we've been shipping bottles around of the country because people are like calling us because they hear, oh yeah, we've been giving away. Just kidding. But anyway, like, but also at the same time, like it's really beautiful how it was something that it was from the scratch, that it was from San Bartolo, a village that nobody really know. Now we have a brand. Now we have a mezcal that has been selling outside for Mexico, and it's been growing. And also at the same time, every time when we see the community of San Bartolo being proud for their mezcal being sold outside for Mexico, it's such a beautiful feeling. But also at the same time, it's a community brand too, where more maestros mezcaleros and more maestras mezcaleras will enjoy San Bartolo to have different expressions and different type of agaves and different mezcales in the future for San Bartolo mezcal. Yeah.
Beautiful. So now I understand that it's not available in all markets. Is the plan to expand, or are you just going to focus on a handful of markets?
That's coming real soon. We're going to ramp up on San Bartolo very quickly, and coming to your distributor really soon.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And maybe I missed it because I was busy trying to alert all the people who were unable to get in, because apparently my max is 100, not 1,000. Sorry, people. I missed. Did you mention, Danielle, if you use agaves other than Espadín?
Well, for now we just use the Espadín. We use a 8 years old Espadín, but actually I have a talk with my grandpa today about the rest of the agave. So we are coming out with Tobalá, Mexicano, Anchor whiskey. We're gonna make some blends in the future. Yes, but this is the beginning of everything.
Okay, so cooking in a stone-lined earthen oven, correct?
Yes. Mhm.
Buried for how many days? How many days do you cook?
Well, it's the 3 to 7 days. All depend of the weather. Like my grandpa, he like, there is time that actually sometimes it takes just 48 hours, which is beautiful. But it's all depend of
Wait,
the
wait, wait, wait,
weather.
wait. Oh, okay. So it's not like he knows what's going on. He knows because of the time of year. It's not like he can see through the dirt. He's not opening it up and touching and then closing it again, right?
Well, one of the things that he told me, like he just go and smell. He just put and smell how did it smell by the days, and when the smell is to reach the smell that he loves, that richness is when he knows that he's ready.
Wait, so
That's how
he's brushing off a little spot, letting some air out, and he's smelling that,
yeah,
and then closing
yeah.
it up.
Yeah, he smell it.
Oh,
So it's really
man.
amazing. It's really amazing.
That's a new one to me. Is that new to you, Chava?
It is new to me, but it makes a lot of sense because it's like cooking. How many times do you use your nose to know if something's ready?
I don't.
Yes.
I just I burn things. It's okay. I don't care. Okay, so then you're milling it how?
Yeah, it's all depend of the water, but we mull it with a tajona. We have our horse, which his name is Chingon. He's our horse, so he just goes around with the tajona. He's like, yeah,
Beautiful.
one of our strongest point of the company.
But you said like before you mentioned Chingon, you mentioned that depends on the time of year. I'm guessing that you were talking about how long it rests, the agave rests after you pull it out of the oven. Is that right?
How long? Well,
Yeah.
usually after we put it out, after they put it out of the oven, they just like start making the little bed around of the tajona, and it usually is like a couple hours after. Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay. And then you're fermenting open air wooden barrels.
Yes. Exactly.
And distilling in wood-fired copper pot stills.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Refrescador? Yes. Not refrescador?
Well, no, we use we have the espiral and everything, but we use a copper for the distillation.
Not refrescador.
No refrescador.
Yeah, simple copper.
Gotcha. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, I have no other further questions. He's your witness, Chava.
Yeah, no, but something that I really want to just maybe mark a little bit more about this is you guys, you know how we talk about innovation in other industries in the way that they made something that nobody else had done. And I think in their case, they created the conditions to make a certification for a town that had not been acknowledged by the certifying body that regulates mezcal. And I think that is so important because it's almost like recovering traditions and heritage that was not yet acknowledged by the organism that it's supposed to be finding that. You had to do their work. Instead of them finding you, you had to go and tell them, hey guys, you hadn't looked at us. You have to look at us.
Nice. Yes. Okay, we got one more question here, and then we have to move aside because this guy named Arik is coming on to talk about something called Fidencio. But Daniel, can you give us an idea? Can you give us an idea what the price point is in the market for that beautiful bottle of Espadín?
Well, it all depends about the liquor store, but usually it goes from $25 to $40 to $40.
$25 to $40.
That's yeah, and also the same. Also, something that I would like to mention that oral mezcales and oral batches are small batches. We produce from 7 to 1,000 liters, so we're still producing on a small batch. And also at the same time, as I mentioned before, this is a project that we are involving also the rest of the community. So the future with San Bartolo is to have different mezcales from the community, and also at the same time, it's still on the artisanal side. Instead of doing a mass produce, it's much better to work and do a production as a community to create more artisanal mezcal instead of like just doing like, I don't know, 10,000 liters. Yeah.
Daniel, can you talk about the next producers that you have lined up for the project from the village? I'm happy to share my time.
Yes. Well, we have right now, we are talking with Maestra Mezcalera Margarita, who is my aunt. She's a maestra mezcalera also in San Bartolo Yautepec. She's gonna enjoy the project also too. And also we're talking with, which is Alfredo Jimenez, which is another mezcal producer in San Bartolo. And there is another maestros mezcaleros that actually are working with my grandpa right now. because there is no like that much cash flow in the community. So we are working all together, and we are also about to certify their distilleries, their palenques, so we can also create more mezcal for the industry in our artisanal size.
And we got a comment from Eric Foster, who believes you should raise the price because it's an insanely amazing price point for mezcal of this quality. So there you go. Eric wants you to raise the price.
I absolutely agree. Yeah, no, this is wonderful.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And when is it going to come to California? I'm guessing you don't know yet.
Well, maybe next month it's gonna be. Yes. Yeah, we're already working on it. And actually, I was in the West Coast last month. I was talking with different people over there, but yeah, we're gonna be in California in the next 2 months, the latest.
Beautiful. Okay, Daniel, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts, your wisdom, your beautiful community, and your wonderful mezcal. I'm gonna move you over to attendee. You can leave if you want, but you don't have to. But you can't stay here. You can go where you
I don't want to. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for the space. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Daniel.
Thanks. Okay, and next up is Arik, who's on the moon. Arik, talk to me about Fidencio. First time I met you, we got in a fight, almost turned into a fist fight. Now we're like young lovers.
Hold me back. Yes. So the first time we met, we got started Fidencio. We launched Fidencio in 2009, and but really started the project of trying to do a brand, I think in 2007 is when that got started. And, we didn't know what we were doing, didn't really know about shared information didn't know about tales of the cocktail and how to, sort of.
So why did you start it? Why'd you start it?
Oh, because I kind of fell in love with it and I needed a gig. I was between restaurant jobs and I was like, okay, this is really cool. I really like this. And it felt right. And then I came back to New York and started working in restaurants again. And then we eventually were able to launch Fidencio. And then haven't been back in the restaurants since, but I still consider myself a restaurant
always eat at
person.
home now?
No,
Okay.
I do. Yeah.
So tell me what is Fidencio as a brand? Where are you positioning it? What are you trying to make it? How is it different than San Bartolo or Derrumbes?
Oh, I guess I wish I was that strategic. So Fidencio as a brand is, it's an expression of the work of Enrique Jimenez and his family. So maker, place, house style, mostly Espadín from his farm, some foraged agave, and kind of, for me, it was building a brand at a time when there weren't any built brands, so to speak. Everybody was really trying to figure out how to get there and what this category is going to look like. And I was fortunate enough to be doing it at the time and getting to the place where we got it to, and it's kind of humming along. Like we're not for sale. We are, our capacity is based on the farm. We don't buy agave from other farmers for Espadín, so that really sort of limits us and it sort of controls what we were able to grow beyond or towards. So that gave me the opportunity to be an importer and represent other brands, which that started for me in La Venenosa.
I'm going to throw in here too while you're saying that, because it's funny to me. It's one of my frustrations, and yet I think it's a beautiful thing that I always see you promoting every one of the other brands in your portfolio over your own. It's like you put everybody else first before you have anything to eat yourself. It's really humble and really sweet. But you do more than Espadín in Fidencio, right? Like this is your Tepextate, right?
Right, and we do Tepextate, Tobala, Maguequiche, and we do them sort of as needed, not every year. So this batch of Tepextate was done last year, and it was agave farm-raised Tepextate from Enrique's relative, sort of in the east, south and east. And yeah, we had one other batch, no, two other batches. So we've done 3 batches of Tepextate over the years. This one's really gentle. I really like the mouthfeel of it. Some of them are bolder. And I don't have any in front of me. It wouldn't matter if I did, because I don't have any sense of taste right now.
Oh yeah, right now, sure. Hey,
Right now.
I've seen the shirts you wear.
Yes.
That was a Chava joke to me, actually. Like if Chava wasn't going to do that, I was going to do it. So before this thing started, you and I were talking about this steakhouse. How long have you been selling to this steakhouse? Selling this mezcal to this steakhouse, the Fidencio?
Oh, I think they've been a client for about 2 years or so.
Oh, okay, so relatively new.
So yeah, I'm not 100% sure of that, but I think so. Yeah.
I mean, so you were saying that they came to you and said, oh, this mezcal thing is pretty cool. Like, if there's a second expression that we should go to, what is it, right?
What Lou's referring to is it's just, I was remarking before the event about how cool it is now. Like, we have clients that are people that are diving deep and wanting to know the people and all of the different components. And then we have like very mainstream non-agave clients as well. And in the case of this one, they've been working with Fidencio Classico for a few years, and they reached out to me. We had a conversation today because they're ready for the next expression. They were like, what else can we add in? And they're doing it in a way that's really smart. It's working for them. They're taking it slowly. They're ready for the next one. They understand what they have, and now they're ready for another one. And down the road, they'll have a few more. And this steakhouse is going to have an agave selection, or it already does. And we're just happy to be a part of it. So, the world has changed a lot.
Like, the reason I brought it up was not just to make chit chat. The reason that I brought it up was you're saying that they're going to have an agave, like they're doing it, but really this is, I think, the result. I'm guessing the result of you just being out there for, what is this now, 12 years, knocking on doors, learning how to sell to new venues. That doesn't just happen overnight.
And it's not just me. Me and a lot of other dedicated, hardworking people. And really, I mean, if we're really going there, a big shout out to every distributor rep that has really taken a shine to me and cares about the people that we represent and takes us as something that's personal to them, because that really is what made the difference and allowed me to grow. So
yeah,
that's a huge thing.
This is the first time we've done a tasting where distributors help to distribute the samples, and it's why so many people weren't able to get in. We've never had an audience this big on a webinar. I feel awful because your distributors really did work hard. I sent out I sent out another email pointing people to the Facebook link, so hopefully more of them will watch that, and then we'll also have this archived on the YouTube page. But yeah. Hey, and do you still do the without smoke, the sin
Yeah, Unico. Yeah. So originally we launched that, it was called Sin Humo. That's why Lou and I almost, went to fisticuffs. It's something, it's Oaxaca is a place of traditions, and it's a place of inspiration and creativity. So this is a creative section of that. And it's Enrique's inspiration, his creativity with his traditions. But effectively, it's a steamed agave mezcal. It's really cool for those of you who are don't know about it. It really drinks a lot like almost an eau de vie of Espadín. It's really pretty. But it's wild wild fermentation and bottled without water. So it's got some legs to stand on, but definitely different and unique.
Nice. And before we move, we're not going to send you over to the audience, but before we bring Roberto up here, we want to know, is there a particular cut of steak that goes best with this mezcal?
I'll get back to you. It's always ribeye, right? Start with the ribeye.
I would actually start with the tuna steak if it were me.
Yeah, I approve that. Actually, in steakhouses, they serve chamorro. Is that chamorro, like the leg of the animal? I was just in Morelia and had a whole leg of an animal with mezcal, and it was probably the best thing I've had in a few years. So
is this why you were running late? You started with the leg and you were working way up to the neck? Is that like?
I have a multitude of excuses, but yeah, I'll give you that one.
Oh, and we've got a question about the steaming. Tulio wants to know for how long it's steamed.
Oh yeah, that's interesting.
It's for 3 days, so it's a pretty low temperature, and it's calibrated. And it's not like a steam oven that you would typically see in tequila country. It is a radiant heat, so it's a dry, steam-powered, contained radiant heat. So it kind of Enrique calibrates it to sort of mimic the time that you would need to roast in an underground oven.
That is really interesting.
So it's pretty gentle, and
yeah,
it's really unusual. I don't think I've seen another one like it. He designed it himself.
Yeah, I mean, I just like a last point to that, and I love what you said about the flexibility of traditions. I think a lot of people think that the things that have been done for 100 years haven't changed, but they usually, if the maker is really good, they will find new things to play with, and they will design their own machinery. They will design their own things because they've been designing their own tools for hundreds of years. And maybe one day they want to play with steam, and you get to something like that that's beautiful, which I don't know why would Luke have a problem with it and would like to fight with you about it.
Well, it's
oh, you know, no, I'm not going to open that kind of worm. Roberto, you're next. Shut up, Lou. We're moving forward.
Careful, I'm the one who can mute you, Chava. Remember that. Hey, Roberto, welcome to our party. Thank you for coming.
Thank you guys for inviting me. It's a pleasure to meet you all, and it's a pleasure to be here talking about what we've been doing for a long time in Rancho Tepúa, my family ranch.
And okay, so now we're on to the Tepua, and we're drinking some Bacanora. What are the important things we need to know about your Bacanora?
Well, I guess being a Bacanora brand, we've been doing this pretty much for a very long time. I guess we've been probably one of the first Bacanora brands that was out of Mexico. We were actually the first brand out of Mexico, but with another project named Cielo Rojo. But Cielo Rojo ended in 2015. And then I met Arik through Esteban Morales, and we started talking about a new project. Rancho Tepúa was not made in 2015. It actually was our first brand, which we created in 2004. So we brought Rancho Tepúa back with another presentation. And in 2017, we did our first export of Bacanora to the States with Rancho Tepúa.
So when you say you created originally in 2004, was this the logo in 2004? Because I got to tell you, I played with a lot of logos on stuff. That logo is beautiful and fun to play with.
No, that's actually not the original one. It was a lot more simpler. A very simple bottle, a very simple brand design. But this project was talking with Arik and bringing ideas and stuff, and we developed this new presentation. It has actually worked pretty good.
Beautiful. Okay, so tell me your process. What are you using to make it, and what kind of agave, and then what do you do to that agave to make it so darn sweet?
We're actually using Agave Espadín, but in Sonora, in the state of Sonora, we don't call it Espadín. There's a little bit of confusion we call it Pacifica. There's people that would call it Yaquiana, Vivipara. So it has, at the end, it's Agave Angustifolia Espadín, but under the conditions of Sonora, which is desert. We're in the mountains of a country. It's semi-desert conditions, and that's what changes everything when it comes with the Agave Espadín of Sonora.
Hey, Roberto, and I do have a question. If you see an espadín in Oaxaca and you see like an angustifolia in Sonora, can you see any physical differences? Would you be able to tell apart?
Yeah, sure. They're definitely a lot smaller agave. Because I've seen espadín from Oaxaca and it's a lot bigger. And that has to do, our annual precipitation is around 10 to 15 inches of rain a year. So it's a lot less rain what you get in Sonora but you will actually get in Oaxaca.
Beautiful. So you're cutting down these Augustafolias, and then you're what? You're cooking in a stone-lined earthen oven buried underground. Yeah.
It's an underground oven, but it's brick. It's actually made of brick. Traditionally, what you actually use is it's made of stone. What we are using right now is a brick oven, but it's a kind of brick that actually will trap the heat, the flame. We're using this type of oven because we use mesquite wood, and that enables us to use a little bit less of mesquite wood than an actual stone oven.
And for people that probably are not so familiar with that, mesquite wood, it's very fluffy, right? So you need a ton of that wood to be able to do a run. So you want to maximize as much as wood as you can, no? With this more insulated kiln.
Yeah, and actually mesquite wood, our firewood, that's actually one of the best parts of our process. We only use mesquite wood, but if you cook steak with mesquite charcoal or mesquite firewood, it gives a special flavor to steak, and it's the same with Bacanora. You can actually sense the mesquite charcoal in our Bacanora.
I think that's also fascinating when you're talking about region, because it's not only that the agave is different in Sonora than to Oaxaca, but also the wood in Sonora is very different to Oaxaca. So I'm sure that even that creates a whole different set of flavors, not Roberto?
It depends on the region. So our ranch is named Tepua. Tepua means axe, like cutting axe. Our ranch actually has a lot of mesquite wood. We don't have problems with firewood. And we use only dried firewood, like dried trees, branches, to heat our ovens. But it's our tradition to only use firewood. There's people that produce Bacanora that will use oak, that will use other types of woods, depending on the region where they're at and depending what they have available.
Nice. Okay, so once you've cooked that agave, then with that beautiful mesquite, how do you mill it?
We mill it using, so we're cattle ranchers and we have a forage cattle mill, a mill used to grind forage for cattle. And we actually made some changes to the mill so we can start shredding cooked agave. And once it's all shredded, we just put it on stainless steel containers and just add water. The yeast, we don't use yeast, we just add water. Our Binata is an open distillery, so there's natural yeast all over.
But it's an open top on that steel container, yes? No?
Yeah, it's an open top, yeah, sure.
Okay, cool. And then what kind of still do you use?
The steels are copper. We have two steels, and they're all copper.
And I have a question. How big are your containers? Because usually I think that's interesting when you go into steel containers. Either they're massive or they're smaller. How big are yours?
No, they're not very big. They're actually 500 liters. 500 liters each stainless steel container.
So I think that's also a massive difference to a lot of the other producers, where most of the producers that I see in Oaxaca, for example, have 1,000-liter tanks for fermentation. I think the fact that you're using 500 might also add a lot of the nuances to it.
Well, our annual production is from 4,000 to 5,000 liters a year. Our batches are usually 400 to almost 500 liters each batch that we produce. So it's small batches.
How many fermenters does it take to get a batch of that size of 400 to 500 liters?
Well, we have around 10 to 15 stainless steel containers right now.
So 5,000 liters roughly.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
That's crazy.
So what else do we need to know, Roberto?
Well, so my family, originally my family were farmers in the south of Sonora. They sold their lands and looking for virgin or looking for better opportunities, they settled in a rural town named La Estancia de Aconchi, and they started as cattle ranchers in the mountains of Aconchi. But this place was a place that naturally it had a lot of agave, angustifolia, agave pacifica. So it was almost immediately that they started producing Bacanora. So I'm talking about mid 1800s where this was happening. And I actually have at my ranch, probably one of the places that you can actually go and find the distilleries or vinatas that were used during Prohibition. Because there's something that happened with Bacanora, which was illegal from 1915 till 1992. So there was almost 80 years of where the industry was clandestine. It was kept on the low. So it never developed. But before, in 1910, the state of Sonora was producing almost 900,000 liters of Bacanora a year. So it all went down. I guess right now in the state of Sonora, we're only producing, if we're producing 400,000 liters, that'll be a long shot.
And you can only use that Pacifica to make Bacanora. Is that accurate?
Yes, we can only use Pacifica for Bacanora, but there's actually other agave varieties that have been historically used for mezcal production in Sonora. And we're actually using one of them right now to produce a type of lechuguilla, which is, I guess it's already in the States. It landed in the States very recently under a project of us that's called Reserva del Vinatero. And we're doing Rancho Tepúa Lechuguilla, and we're doing Rancho Tepúa Palmilla. Palmilla is a Sonoran, basically it's a Sonoran Sotol, but we use, because in Sonora there's Dasylirium wheelery. So it's been made like Sotol, but everyone calls it Palmilla. So last year we made a few batches of Palmilla, we made a few batches of Lechuguilla, and we actually were very impressed with the final products. We're actually changing our habits of drinking only Bacanora to drinking more Palmilla and drinking more Lechuguilla.
Nice. We've got a few comments I wanted to share with you because one of them really made me laugh. This one didn't. Just creamy mouthfeel, tasty. Well done. This is superb. And then smells like I've been walking around a cave licking stalagmites. I love that, Coy. Thank you for that one. Okay, yeah, Roberto, we're going to send you back to be an attendee. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure meeting you virtually, and I look forward to meeting you in person when all of this is done.
And it's delicious. I got today the bottle delivered at my house, Roberto, and it was really festive moment. My parents now think I'm a full-on alcoholic, but whatever.
Yeah, now they do. Sure, now.
It was a plastic, like, you know, it looks suspicious in a way. But thanks a lot, Roberto. It is delicious.
Well, I'm glad I made it all the way to Mexico City in one piece. And thank you guys for having me. And thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to meet you all.
Gracias.
Yeah. Thank you, Roberto. Good to see you.
Oh, wait a minute. I almost made you the host. That would have been funny. Okay, change it to attendee. There you go. And now, where is my very good friend Esteban? I love Esteban. What the heck?
Is he there?
Yeah, he's there. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, we're just promoting him now, and we got a couple of questions. Let's see. The Palmilla is great, and it's Doug, not Amy. Oh, Doug. Oh, hi, Doug. Sorry. Yes. Sorry, that's not even a question. Okay, never mind. Any second now, Esteban will pop up.
Yes.
Oh, so I should change my background, shouldn't I?
I think I should do that too. I'm being really bad at that. It's we should have something that automatically does that for us.
They're called interns.
Yeah.
Are you there? Oh, there he is. Esteban, how are you?
How you doing, guys?
Good. You know, before we get started, I want to say, like, you know, there are a lot of people that I've learned from along the way, right? In my journey of agave spirits, and a lot of what I learned was in Oaxaca. Um, and they've got such a specific they the people that I learned from have such a specific way of viewing agave spirits in general and mezcal specifically. And you helped me, I don't want to say unlearn, but you helped open my eyes to the fact that just because they do something in this community this way, it's not how they do it everywhere. And there's so many different definitions and so many different practices and cultures. Like, so you opened my eyes to that, and really opened my palate to that. And like, I've quoted you so many times when people start talking sustainability, because you're the first guy who I heard say sustainability isn't the important thing, it's best practices. And it made me rethink what sustainability is and what we're trying to do to this planet. So anyway, thank you for that. And
Yeah, those are some big shoes, Esteban. He always quotes you at the podcast all the time. So I almost dislike you a little bit, but because of that, Esteban.
I cannot be more thankful, and has been an amazing journey that many families allowed me to share with and show me the way, and also learn from them. So the only thing I can do is trying to share all these things that I learned from them to other people, and in a humble way, and not as a truthful, just like an opinion and an option. And then every single one has to go and learn themselves and compare and trying to find their own way of thinking in all this, because as social media wants to take us to black and white, there is a bunch of gray that is the most beautiful place in the planet. So
that's beautiful. That's poetry. I love that.
I like to live in the gray.
So tonight we are tasting the people who have the Tabernas. Wait, did everybody get the? No, some people got the Tabernas 3 and some people got the Tabernas 2, but some people, like in Chicago, I know we're having the first kiss of your third release of the Tabernas. Tell us about it.
So Tabernas was a really pop-up project for one opportunity. You know, I was in a reunion with producers in Mascota, and one of them get close to me and say, you know, try my raicilla. I have a little more than 3,000 liters that I need to sell. I need to get cash flow again and reinvest it in the fields and in the taberna to keep working. So they offer a really good deal if we buy it all by one. So I didn't have the money in my pocket to say yes. So I call Arik and say, okay, we have this chance. What do you think if we just translate that opportunity directly to the consumer and put on the shelves an inexpensive raicilla and see how the people react? And so he said, yes, let's do this, without knowing how this decision will take us to a completely different journey. So the first reaction is it was slow. So the price point, it was not just making decision for the consumer to buy a raicilla. So the first learn was to keep working to teach what raicilla is, and we also learned that the price point is not the broken point for buying. So, but we wanted to keep this concept, so we're looking for the second chance. So I found, and I know Chalio, that is the second batch in the coast of Jalisco. He's one of the oldest producers down there, and he having a heart condition for long after a surgery. So he stopped working for more than 6 years, and he was sitting in around 5,000 liters of raicilla. for all those years. So also he needed to sell a big batch to get traction again. So we do the same. So we get a good deal and fast upfront money for him and put it in amazing raicilla with more than 6 years sitting in a stainless in an amazing price. So it was a jewel in a $30 out there. So
and would that be lot A5 by any chance?
what?
Is it lot A5? Was that the second Tabernas?
No.
You're getting into
A5.
trouble.
Sorry, there was a question. I'm trying to help Jenna with a question. It's okay. Keep going. I think Arik is going to go grab a bottle and let us know.
Well, I have Tabernas too. It's lot 4.
Lot 4. Okay, so
Yeah.
Jenna with A5, you've probably got lot 3. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
T is T and not A, maybe.
Oh.
Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe. Oh. Anyway.
Because T of Tabernas and T.
Oh. A, T, they all look the same.
The next.
Can I just to also add in Tabernas, if I may, Esteban, Tabernas, it means distillery in that region. And the idea for how to bring this project into to the people with clarity was to call it Tabernas, the distilleries. And we wanted to keep bringing great product, over deliver, and it's really a testament to Esteban's connection to all the different people there. And he's really the batch hunter. He's hunting these really special batches that we're able to bring.
It's a fascinating approach when you think about it, because what you're trying to do is make this a really affordable raicilla, right? But you're doing it with these really rare batches that won't be produced again. It's not like you've got one place making it over and over again, which makes each release so unique, which is the opposite of what I think of, at least when I think of these affordable bottles. It's interesting.
Thing is, mezcal is just getting expensive and expensive and expensive, and sometimes seems like the people is in a competition, in running competition of finding the more special batch, the most rare batch, the most far away producer, and trying to find the way to just justify and a huge amount of money on that bottle. And we do the opposite. So we're trying to make money in the pockets of the producer the faster as we can.
Nice.
So let can keep going and keep producing and keep doing what they do the best. And so we cut all our big part of the profits and marketing and all that stuff. So for the people that has Tabernas number 2, this is made by Eli Rodriguez in the municipality of El Tuito. The agave is Chico Aguiar. It's an angustifolia, and I'm gonna go deep in this, and I'm maybe gonna support Roberto in what he's explaining before. And as Oaxaca sales numbers keep the 90% of the mezcal sales worldwide, every single person that listen Angustifolia, they connect straight to the biggest relation, and it's Espadín. But I like to take the consumers again into the logic of how big is the agave genus. We know grapes, and grape is one variety of a plant. And each wine that you know, and each type of wine you drink, like Cabernet, Zinfandel, Pinot Noir, Tempranillo, Merlot, Carmenere, you name it, is a subspecies of a grape. So when we are calling Angustifolia, is one variety, is the variety of a plant. So just Angustifolia has more than 40 sub-varieties in Mexico. And each sub-variety can be as different as Pinot Noir and Cabernet.
And I love this, Esteban, because I also think this is so under-researched. I think
Completely.
so many of these species, just no scientist that had the funding or the excuse or the time to name all of these things. So this is if we were in wine 200 years ago. I don't even know if 200 years ago, maybe they already had more funding to name subspecies of grapes than in the whole wine context, right?
Yep, just one variety of agave.
Wow.
And so Pacifica is completely different agave to Espadín, even if they are the same variety. And is something that increased maybe the people to research and go further and deeper. So this journey doesn't end, never. So welcome and enjoy the ride. And is the way it is. So Chico Aguiar is a subvariety of Angustifolia that grow in Jalisco and has a lot of richness in sugar content. So it makes a really good quality mezcals and good yield too. And the process that Chalio use is a ground oven roasted with rocks, wood and rock, and then milled in mechanical grinder, similar of what Roberto used and other producers. The region used to mill it by hand in a tree trunk kind of a canopy, but they stop already. It's not good for the back of anyone.
Yeah.
So nobody pays that, therefore nobody really find any difference between the flavors. So they decided to change and have a little better quality of life. And then after meal, he ferments in stainless steel, 200 liters stainless steel little containers, and then still it twice in Philippine style, like internal condensation, with exactly the same tree trunk design of the region, but made it by stainless steel.
Oh, okay. We need to explain this though.
Yeah.
This is gonna be so hard, Esteban, because I don't know if everybody is very familiar with the specific type of Filipino steel that they use in Raicilla country. So I think even internal distillation might not be very familiar for most folks. So
let me.
If you have a picture, it'll be awesome. But I think what you're trying to explain is even the top, the condenser, has the same shape as the wood ones that they typically use. It's just that it's made out of stainless steel, correct?
Yep. I don't have the picture of Chalio right here, but definitely if I may show my screen.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, hang on.
Something that I'd like to say just while you find that is that in Mexico is so special when you talk about spirits, because we have both the European and the Asian tradition of distillation in terms of the equipment that is being used. And I am not sure that that happens anywhere else in the world. And it's an extremely difficult history that's still being studied. But a lot of people think that it has to do with the fact that the Spaniards had a colony in the Philippines, and that a lot of this technology traveled via the Philippines, Acapulco, dispersed all around Mexico, and then made it to places where it was not endemic.
So, yep, Spaniards, do you saw my screen, like the picture of the steel?
We're not seeing the picture yet. We're just saying.
Oh, no,
we're seeing your menu, your folder.
Really? All right.
Yeah.
Let me try again.
If you want to send it to me, if you just like send it over to me in a text, I can use it as a background.
Yeah, and me,
okay.
And I think it's really needed for people to see this crazy thing, because I think for people that are very much into distillation, it's gonna make their minds blow a little bit.
Yeah.
Let me try it now.
There you go. Yep.
Okay.
I love this.
So, okay, the Chava was talking how the Philippines arrived in Mexico. It was in the late 1600s because the Spaniards has both colonies, Philippine colony and all Mexico's Central and South America also colony, and the half part of United States today. And they learn in Philippines that the coconut makes a lot of like good fiber, food, oil, and they practically use everything that came out of the cocoa. So the idea was to bring Philippines to Mexico to farm a coconut in the haciendas. So they arrived to Acapulco. It was the biggest port in the colony. And they just realized that the coastal line between the sea and the mountains in Guerrero and Oaxaca is very short. So there is not flat lands to make like a big farm of coconut palm. So they took the boat again and sailed north to the second biggest port in the colony, that it was San Blas in the state of Nayarit today. And from there, start looking around, and they found amazing tropical weather flatlands between Colima and Jalisco. So they established the colony of Philippines there. And what Philippines do with these steels was coconut spirit. So they cut where the flower of the coconut is growing and collect the sweet juice, the sap, and ferment it. And after fermented, distill it. And also they used to drink it fermented. And that's a tradition that is still alive today in the south of Jalisco and Colima. We call it tuba, and it's an amazing drink. And one of the proofs that this exchange of technology is happening is all the region of South Jalisco, coastal, and Colima, the producers of mezcal call tuba to the fermentation liquid, to the fermented liquid. And tuba doesn't exist in any Mexican language, in any indigenous Mexican language. So tuba is a word that was imported, you know, and they learned it from the Philippines. So definitely we're drinking a spirit that is a consequences of the exchange of technology and knowledge.
That's beautiful. So I see we've only got 3 minutes left, and we have to cover the Sotol yet.
So yeah, send me by mail some questions, and I will be more than glad to keep sharing this. Sotol, let me stop sharing.
Beautiful.
And La Higuera Sotol Cedrosanum, right?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. I started mislabeling them. I literally printed the wrong labels because we had done the other tasting. I don't remember when we poured 3 of the Sotols, and yeah, I almost used the wrong one. I'm not the guy to ask. I don't know from Des Illyrian.
For me to jump into the Sotol was a kind of a surprise. I never thought on having a brand or representing Sotol. But one of my clients of Raicilla in Europe asked me, "Hey, do you know any Sotol brand that I want to bring Sotol to Europe?" So I called one of my closest friends in Sotol, that it was at that time Jacob Jaques of Don Cuco, and I asked him if he wanted to sell Sotol to this company. And he explained me some issues, like family issues of how they divide the profit of the company. And at the end, he pushed me, like, it will be better for me if I make liquid for your brand and not sending my own brand to make small words. So that in that moment, I started selling Sotol with La Higuera brand.
So Sotol is a specific kind of mezcal. Is that correct?
Yes
Are
and
you-
no.
Come on, Lou.
Oh,
You're better
come
than that.
on.
Yes
You're
and
better than
no.
that, Lou.
Hey, sometimes I find it's easier to ask the question that way. So anyway, so it's a kind of mezcal. Is that accurate, Esteban?
Yes, it's accurate, Lou.
We've got a
listen,
series. We've got a question being asked by one of the bartenders here. Like, what is Sotol? So what is Sotol?
Sotol is a spirit from a plant that the scientific community named it as a Dasylirion. But locally and in the communities and the countryside of Mexico, we know it as a Sotol or Cucharilla or Sotolillo or Palmilla and many other names. So Sotol has a denomination of origin that covered 3 states, but also this DO is really bad made because the plant, Dasylirion plant exists in many states of Mexico. And Roberto was just explaining that is also in Sonora. We just send a batch that is made out of Oaxaca. And we know that the community that produced Tuchi and Tepe in the north of Jalisco, south of Durango, produce also Sotol, and et cetera, et cetera. So the plant is Dasylirion. Dasylirion has recognition, the scientific community recognized 21 varieties of Dasylirion. So what we wanted to do as a brand was to bring to the conversation varieties. So we decided to isolate varieties using exactly the same technique, same water source with the same vinata, and put it out there and ask the consumer to try it together and figure out if the variety express themselves. Because there is amazing brands that talks and promote the terroir, like mountain Sotol, desert Sotol, and not much focus on the variety. So we wanted to increase this discussion, adding this as a project. So the process for making this Sotol that you have today is harvest the plant that is similar to agave because the evolution of the plants happen at the same stages. So they look similar, but the DNA is completely different. So you cut the leaves, you extract the heart, you roast it underground in the same style of oven as any other mezcal, and then grind it or mill it, ferment it in a wooden tanks, and distill it twice in a very, very similar operation as any Central Valley distillery of Oaxaca.
But one of the things that fascinates me about Sotol is, whereas with the agave, it's you get one shot. You're either going to let it reproduce or you're going to use it for booze. And I guess there are other things you could do, but you can't let it reproduce and then use it for booze. But with Sotol, it reproduces multiple times before it's ever harvested, right?
Yep. The Sotol plant makes quiote after the maturity that plant arrives to this maturity around 4 to 5 years, depends on where the plant is growing. And after that year, they pop up little quiote and make seeds every year.
And so is there a point at which the plant is done, or can you just let it go in perpetuity? Can it go for 50 years and get bigger and bigger and bigger? Like, what happens?
No, plant is they can go old, definitely, but it arrives to the point that they cannot go bigger than a size. Also, they make a little like a trunk, and the piña is a little ahead of the ground, and start looking more like a yucca kind of when it's really older. But they cannot just grow as bigger as the time can let them. So they have a maximum size as any other plant.
And I'm sure there's a whole discussion, Lou. Like when you ask any mezcalero when is the right time to cut your agave,
Right.
35, 50 different answers to that, right? When is the right time?
If
So
you've
I'm
got
sure
40
in Sotol-
mescaleros, you get 50 answers. That's correct.
So I think in Sotol it's even more complex because you don't have a marker that is as specific as your Quixote, I think, no?
It's the size of the piña that you can extract that is gonna make the jimador that to choose what plant to extract. So you have to look after piñas that arrives minimum to 12 kilos to make that worth it.
Beautiful.
Yep. And
Okay.
one of the consequences in the nature of this reproduction is they make packed families of sotols in the desert. And it's so packed that the new seeds can arrive to the soil.
Oh no.
They literally don't fall down when they produce this.
They have, it's so packed of sotols and leaves that they have no chance the new seeds to arrive and have an opportunity to grow. So also there is an interesting projects with the government to extract older plants to make spaces on the ground to make the new seeds get a chance. So also is part of the sustainability to extract mature plants to give chance to new seeds to grow.
Sort of the opposite. That's fascinating. You have to extract.
It's the same as a pine forest that people wants to use it for commercial things and keep the forest healthy. So you cut some of the pines to make the other grow, because otherwise these small pines never get sun enough to grow. So it's kind of a similar treatment.
So we had a really interesting question here that I hadn't thought about. What do you call a distillery that makes so tall?
Vinata.
Oh, it is a vinata. Okay.
It is a vinata. And it's a very funny moment. Also, some sotoleros recognize that they call it mezcal to the piña just after they cook. Because we know what mezcal means, cook. Agave. Agave is a contemporary word to describe the plants. But if we go back then, before scientific community recognizing varieties, if you have a cooked piña of a plant that you extracted from the desert, you may call it mezcal.
That's really interesting.
So the people call it sotol to the plant in the desert. And then they call it mezcal to the piña after it get cooked and roast. And then they call it sotol to the spirit. So for that reason also, the people get confused for a long time if sotol was just another mezcal from the north of Mexico.
That's really fascinating. What?
I was typing an answer to a question.
Yeah,
so
but I also do have a question about that. I think, at least in my experience, a lot of the guys that do sotol also work other species of agave, no?
Yeah.
It's not either you do one or the other. Usually when you find one that does one, they're like international music, different agave, like Dicylidion and agave.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah, and we got some notes here from not Amy, but her husband Doug Smith, that he's found 150 kilo sotols up in his territory in Sonora.
Do it.
And I guess we should celebrate that because that's a lot more booze. So cool.
I want to try it.
Yeah. Something that I would like to mention about La Higuera is that, a little what you were saying, Esteban, to open the conversation about different species of Dicylidions and how those different species have different flavors. I don't think we have the chance to do that with any other brand that I know of. They're usually Dicylidium Willeri, which is usually their way of saying we found a lot of sotol laying around, and we sort of think that it all comes from the same species. So I think it's a great treat, and it's lovely that you are making that. Because even the one time that Lou and I wanted to source sotol, we had to ask the producer to send us a picture to sort of try to understand which distillation they were using. So I'm sure you guys, it was a complicated matter to work with the producer to tell them separate this Sotol from this Sotol from this Sotol, no?
Yes and no. he was ready to do it. He was
Awesome.
so ready to do it, and so that make very easy for us to achieve the goal, and also we have a couple of new batches ready to go in of Dacilirium Bernaldieri, Dacilirium Texanum, and another Dacilirium that just has local name that this guy called Rojizo, and they don't know exactly what scientific name that plant has.
Or it doesn't have it yet, right?
Maybe.
It hasn't been, yeah.
But as they have just 21, and Desert somehow has a lot of research from Arizona University, from New Mexico, and other state USA universities, we can be quite sure that they spend a lot of time doing this research of plants. But hopefully we can find what type it is.
Nice. So, okay, so we are now 10 minutes past our time, so we're going to have to wrap it. I will say that Jeffrey Markovich was very excited about your Los Gigantes. And so he's going to want to hear about that, Esteban. So I'm just going to give you his email address, and you can send him some pretty pictures of those beautiful agaves. Deal?
Yep.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to send you over to the other side, and we're going to wrap it up quickly with our friend Arik. So I'll catch you soon, Esteban. Thank you.
Esteban, gustazo.
Okay. He's going. Hey, Arik, thank you so much for putting this together and doing this with us.
Thank you.
This was fun.
Yeah, really cool.
And I'm so sorry to all of your distributors and to all of the bartenders who couldn't get in. I swear to God, Zoom said 1,000 people.
Lou said,
as God is my
Lou
witness,
said,
I heard
Lou
that
said,
I thought turkeys could fly.
Well, we will distribute these videos, this recording, and hopefully give people a chance to see it.
Cool. And I hope in fact, since the video will be available, and now so many bars have and restaurants in so many states have the capability to buy a 750 milliliter bottle and pour it into little bottles and sell it, that maybe some bars and restaurants will like literally repeat this tasting and sell it to their customers, because then they can just point them to the Agave Road Trip YouTube page to watch the videos, which you can find at mezcal.video or tequila.video or Bacanora.video, or what else we have? Agave.video, Pulque.video. We've got them all. We got all the videos.
He loves to buy URLs.
There is no stopping you. There is
no. It's called when my wife actually looks at the credit card bill. That's when it gets stopped. Thank you so much for helping us put this together, Arik. Thank you for inviting us into your beautiful spirits portfolio. Anybody who has questions, they can circle back to you. How?
Arik at FidencioSpirits.com.
Look at that. Beautiful.
Shoot me an email. I love you all.
Okay,
Can't wait to hit the road and see you all in person again.
Amen, and I hope you're feeling better soon. And now you and I can stop, Arik, but I think Chava has to stay for another 45 minutes to make up for his lost time.
Exactly.
Oh, Lord. I want
No.
to apologize, but this was an absolute treat. And I have to say that I haven't been able to travel a lot during this year, and having these amazing tastings gets me to travel without having to leave my home. You know, like I can try the north of Mexico. What? Like it is true. Like, you know, I'm trying these sotoles, and I'm in Sonora, or I am in Chihuahua. Like, I'm in places that are so far away from my house, and I get to have access to them on a bottle. So that's a big pleasure. Thank you guys a lot.
Right on. Okay, so like Fidencio Spirits on Instagram, like Agave Road Trip on Instagram, and we'll catch y'all next time.
Besito.